Hi guys, it's Casey from Colonial Gardens, an independent garden center in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. I'm coming to you from my house again from my pollinator patch to talk about this spectacular red plant behind me and a good reminder about why plant tags can be kind of limited in their information they can give you. So let's start with the plant itself. This is pineapple sage. We are in the beginning of October and this plant is really just now coming into its full splendor and glory. It is a short day bloomer, so that means that it is taking signals from the environment of the days getting shorter to start to put out these red flowers. So pineapple sage is native to Mexico, and in the summer months when you first plant it, you may be underwhelmed like I was. So the original tag talks about it getting 4 by 4 feet tall, and it is about that size, but it did take until October to reach that size. For most of the growing season, it remained less than a foot tall and really unremarkable within the garden. There are some cultivated varieties that come with some more chartreuse leaves. This is the native species Salvia elegans. And by native species, I mean just the true to species form rather than native to here. They are native to Mexico. And the reason they're called pineapple sage has to do with their foliage. If you break this off, you give it a smell, it smells just like pineapple. It's actually pretty remarkable how strong the scent is on this. It doesn't tend to be one that holds that scent as well in cooking, but it's often used in potpourris and teas and jams and jellies for that magnificent scent. And apparently even the flowers are edible and they're really beautiful. Just take a look at those classic salvia stalk with lots of individual flowers, long and tubular, and this scarlet color. So beautiful. Doesn't really emerge until October here, but so gorgeous. Great compliment to my sunflowers over here and the willow leaf sunflower I have that I'll highlight in another video. So in October, spectacular plant. But when you're reading the tag, you really miss a lot of context. So our grower who supplies this plant to us grows it as an edible herb in their selection that comes in a little tiny pot. And the thing that caught my eye about it was that it was advertised as an excellent food source to hummingbirds. And again, if you take a look at the form of the flower, that makes total sense. So I have a black and bloom salvia very close right behind me. And that is our local hummingbird's favorite plant in my garden. Not native, but they love it. And so it is to be expected that the hummingbirds would really enjoy a red version of that salvia plant. And so I planted it with our female hummingbird who visits our house in mind, making sure she had a good food resource. Unfortunately, it did not come into bloom until after she left the area. So our hummingbirds are only around for certain times of year. She has already left the region by the time that this comes into bloom. So that tag wasn't lying. It's just being more specific to southern parts of this species range. So in its native habitat or in more southern parts of our country, it's going to overlap its bloom time with hummingbirds, but not here in Pennsylvania. So still spectacular flower, not very useful for my hummingbirds. It's also grown as an annual in our range. So it's hardy to zone 8. We are in zone 7. However, this is its second year in this place. So your tag might tell you that a plant is not going to come back next year. But with my experience with my black and bloom salvia, which is in its 4th year, you are likely for some of these plants where you're on the edge of their range or maybe one zone out of it, if you don't have a really extreme winter season, you might see them come back. And so I decided to take that bet with the salvia because I wanted to know, this pineapple sage, because I really wanted to know if it would perform differently in its second year versus the first year in the ground. And it did indeed come back, but it performed very similarly, where it stayed very short for most of the growing season and it did not get large until the late part of the season, which, doing a little research into what triggers its bloom with those shorter days makes a whole lot of sense. When you go to the garden center, the tags are printed for sometimes countrywide distribution. So sometimes the sun expectations, the hardiness zones, its benefits could be kind of generalized to the whole country and not be true of your particular growing area. That is one of the reasons it's so important to go beyond just the tag and talk to your local garden center folks about what their experience with the plant is, or do a little bit of research on videos like these that can really show you what they look like when they're in their full splendor and any sort of quirks with growing it. So if you're growing pineapple sage, it does best in full sun with well-drained soil. It's moderately drought tolerant. We didn't really have to water much at all, even though we had a good spell without rain, but it can use some supplemental watering. It's not as drought tolerant as some other species are. So beautiful plant. We'll see if I decide to keep it again here next year, but I'm going to take these flowers and probably dry them out. They retain their color really well. I've used them to press them into ornaments for the Christmas season. But this is a really lovely addition to the garden, and even during the parts of the year where it's not giving you the red flowers, just coming by and being able to smell that really sweet tropical scent that the plant provides, it's a winner for me. But if you have experience with this plant, let me know, and let me know if you have any experience with plant tags being a little bit misleading from what your actual experience was. Thanks for watching, and come visit Colonial Gardens in Phoenixville.